Next on Arizona 360, preventing crashes caused by dust storms on a busy stretch of I-10.
This is all about providing a safer environment for drivers between Phoenix and Tucson.
Plus, a push to get more Arizonans to the polling place.
Once you create a habit of voting, you become more aware, you become more engaged.
And a tiny approach to one of society's big issues.
To be investing in something that's good for my future, that's just an amazing feeling.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you so much for joining us. As the monsoon ramps up, severe weather from rain and windstorms known as haboobs have derailed trains, delayed flights, and forced transportation officials to shut down roads. This week we're hearing from the Arizona Department of Transportation about dust detection software meant to improve safety on a stretch of I-10 between Tucson and Phoenix. We visited a construction site with ADOT Public Information Officer Tom Herman between Picacho Peak Road and Sunshine Boulevard in Pinal County. Across Arizona, since the year 2000, at least 40 people have died in car accidents caused by dust storms, and dust storms factored into more than 1,200 crashes.
This project really is ground zero for dust storms and dust-related crashes in Arizona. So we looked here, and over a 5-year period, we had more dust-related crashes on this section of I-10, about 2 miles south of where we're standing.
According to ADOT, from 2010 to 2015, dust factored into 85 crashes on I-10 between Eloy and Picacho Peak. In 2016, the department received a federal grant to help fund its dust detection program. In the same stretch, crews are also widening the interstate, straightening lanes and building a new interchange at State Route 87. This has been a dangerous area. Technology is also part of this. How reliable will that be in preventing death and other just collisions in general?
We are putting technology in place. We're using that technology when our short-range radar that'll be located right along the freeway detects that there are too many dust particles and therefore visibility is too low. Signs will be automated, variable speed limits will be automated. At the same time, the camera system that we're installing will send images back to our traffic operations center in Phoenix. And our operations center that works 24 hours a day, holidays, weekends, every day of the year, those folks will be able to look at the cameras, see in real time what the situation is, and if we need to make adjustments, whether it's to the speed limit or to the messages that are ahead, we can do that. One of the key things, though, is we're using proven technology. We're not using something new. We know the short-range radar that we have works. It's worked in many places before. The long-range radar is much like the radar TV stations use to watch for approaching storms, and it'll look out in the desert. We've all been there when there's been a dust storm or a heavy rainstorm, or even in northern Arizona where you've seen heavy snow. You can't really see. You want to get to that destination. The smart thing to do is to pull aside. Our slogan is pull aside, stay alive. We want you to get off the freeway, turn off your lights, take your feet off the brake, put your parking brake on, leave your seatbelt on to protect yourself, and let the storm pass. Most of the time, the storms will come by, whether it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and you can sit there in your car. That's the much better choice than to drive on through the dust storm. If you're 30 minutes late, people will understand because the dust storm will reach us all.
Getting a warning that a storm is coming will hopefully improve after fall of next year when ADOT anticipates the project will wrap up. And as funding becomes available, there could be other projects like this in the future?
One of the great advantages of this project is we'll know how it all works. We designed this over about a 9-month period. If there are any challenges in setting everything up, we'll know that from this project. Then we can look and say, okay, if funding's available, do we look at San Simon? Do we look at I-8 closer to Yuma? Or I-10 in western Arizona? We can't stop a dust storm. What we can do is give you the information as a driver so that you can pull aside and let the dust storm pass. This is all about providing a safer environment for drivers between Phoenix and Tucson.
Ken Waters is a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Phoenix. He studies dust storms in the region. We asked him why the I-10 corridor in Pinal County often bears the brunt of monsoon storms.
Well, it's kind of an uncanny combination of factors. Number one, location-wise, it's nearby where we get a lot of these severe thunderstorms during the summertime. And then you combine that with the fact that there's a lot of dust available in the lower desert. And there are some areas, specific areas in that corridor where there's a whole lot of dust available.
You said source. Can you paint a better picture of what source really means in that area?
Yeah, basically a lot of this ties into land use. You've got some areas that are undisturbed desert, but then you've got other areas that have been disturbed, whether it be through recreational vehicle traffic or possibly previous agricultural use. So sometimes basically that's disturbing the ground cover enough to make it more prevalent, more easy to be able to pick up the dust.
It seems to me that in the last 15 years or so is when we've really started to pay greater attention to this. Have these deadly dust storms, these haboobs, have they been happening prior to that, or is this suddenly new?
This is not a new problem. We find when we look through time is it does come and go. It's kind of cyclical a little bit. And a lot of the thought is that it's tied to drought. So when we have periods of drought, they can lead to more dust storms. But you can have other factors, things like variation. If we're talking about the monsoon specifically, we have some monsoon seasons where we have a lot of activity. 2018, this year, we've started off with a bang here for about a week or two. Other years, there's been very little monsoon activity, low rainfall, and maybe not as many dust storms.
So you can see the storms off to the north and east.
Waters is familiar with the technology being used for ADOT's dust detection system. He's also given input on how to develop a cost-effective alert system. How reliable is this technology? I mean, ADOT is putting quite a bit of faith into this project, but people, common sense, are not removed from the equation.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great point, because you got the human factor always with this, and especially people who are not familiar with Arizona, who have not seen the dust storm activity before. How about truck drivers that are driving across country that have never driven through one of these, or people taking a vacation? We've looked at what we can do to get that word out. It's a big effort. It's a multifaceted effort.
Any prognosis about what the remainder of our summer season looks like?
Well, all indications right now are for continued rather robust monsoon season. I should say that it's really tough to go in the future, like if you're talking about like a month or two. But our climate projections so far continue to call for a wetter than normal period.
As the campaign season ramps up, by now you've likely heard about some new polls, but how much trust should we place in the results? It's a question many asked themselves following the 2016 presidential election, when most polls had Hillary Clinton leading over then-candidate Donald Trump. As for how credibility around polls has rebounded since then, we got insight from Katherine Alonzo, CEO of Javelina, a company in Phoenix that works with political campaigns. We should note she is working on the gubernatorial campaign for David Garcia. Katherine, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're a political consultant, a strategist. How much weight do you put in polling?
Polling is a really important part of the process, but it's not going to be a complete picture. When you're using polls to inform a political campaign, it's very different than when you're reading just the headline and the main results of a poll. Polls are not all created equal. Some of them are constructed in a way that is far more reliable than others. And so I think voters should pay attention to them, but take the headline with a pinch of salt.
In 2016, it seems many Americans relied heavily on the presidential election for polling. And then 2014 here in Arizona with a gubernatorial race. Are we somewhat suspicious moving into the next election cycle here because they have been wrong in the past?
I think that there were a lot of lessons learned in 2016 about how polling is done and how people read them, and they were all saying the same thing. They all reinforced one incorrect narrative. And so I think you'll see some adjustments in how pollsters are doing things. But the fact remains that polls are an incredibly important part of elections, and certainly I don't think something that should be dismissed.
Take me inside to campaign mode when you work with a candidate, and there are partisan polls. So there are some that are obviously more favorable toward your candidate that would make you say, we need to listen to this one versus the other.
Yeah, and this I think is a really important point, is that all polls are not created equal, and there's a couple of things that you have to pay attention to. So you have to pay attention to who who did the poll. So a poll conducted by public polling groups or by television stations are going to be very different than those conducted by partisan groups. So look at who conducted it. Do they do polling? Is polling something that they do consistently? And then also look at who paid for it. I would advise voters to always pay attention to who did it. Also, when did they do it? If a poll was done in the last couple of days, that's going to give you very different information than a poll that was done 2 or 3 weeks ago, especially on issues that change a lot at the moment, such as immigration or education.
And who are the people who participate in these polls? I can't think of how many times I've received a phone call or an email and I just dismiss it, but there are people who do give them some time and energy, and they ultimately matter in these polls.
They absolutely do. And I think one of the things that's really cool about America is that we're proud of our democracy and we like to participate in it. And so the people that participate in the polls, I think, want to make their opinion known. And when a pollster is calling through, they call through a lot more people than they need to respond.
Here in Arizona, we're about 5 weeks until the August primary. One of the polls that recently came out showed the gubernatorial race to be incredibly close between the leading Democrat David Garcia and our incumbent Republican Governor Doug Ducey. What does that do 5 weeks prior to voting day?
What it does is it really shows a important tightening in the race, and it gives David Garcia, who is the challenger in this instance, great momentum. It communicates to his supporters and to his volunteers and to his donors, this is a really, really close race. What it also does is a lot of people who might have assumed that this is, Governor Ducey's race to win, it will make them look differently about what's happening and pay closer attention.
Take, for example, the Senate race here in Arizona. It is certainly heating up. One poll, for example, just shows Kyrsten Sinema leading the way, a Democrat over at least 3 of the Republicans. Does that signal some sort of color shift that we've heard so much about here in Arizona when it comes to politics?
This is going to be a very interesting year. As we've seen around the country, there are unexpected victories and results from elections happening everywhere and in every way. And so I think that we absolutely could see Kyrsten Sinema elected to the United States Senate in Arizona. This is really an extension of 2016 in that we have to expect the unexpected.
Okay, Katherine Alonzo joining us from Phoenix via Skype from Javelina. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Arizonans have less than 2 weeks to register to vote for the primary election next month and a little less than 3 months to register for the general election. Organizations across the state are working together to register 200,000 new voters by then, mostly in underserved and minority communities. One of those groups attempting to reach Hispanic voters is Mi Familia Vota. We learned about this effort through Ana Karina Rodriguez, the organization's Tucson coordinator.
In Pima County, our goal is out of the 200,000 to register 30,000, and with Mi Familia Vota, we want to register 9,000 voters, which we are so close to that goal, which is really exciting. And so we have our canvassers that go out and talk to our community about the importance of being engaged civically. We try our best to be at all the different high schools across Tucson and across the state of Arizona to ensure that our students know that they have a power once they turn 18, that they can register to vote, and also educate them that they can be 17 to register to vote as long as they turn 18 by the election. And we've been seeing a lot of hype and movement, especially with the March for Our Lives that just occurred. There's more students who not only want to participate in registering to vote, but they want to learn how they can register other fellow members of their community to register to vote. So it's really exciting right now.
For the older voter who has said, I haven't voted in so many different elections, why do they say that they don't want to bother with the process anymore?
They say that sometimes it's difficult, but we educate them on the importance of being on the permanent early voting list, which allows you a month in advance from the election date to receive your ballot in the mail.
You've been politically engaged for many years now. What do you think is the one issue that will draw out Arizonans this election cycle?
I really think the effects of this past president election has really shaken people up, and it's made them aware of how when we don't step up to the polls, how we can really let other people make decisions for us that we're not truly in support of. One area that we focus on a lot is we help residents apply for citizenship so that they can be first-time voters in this election, and we've been seeing a lot of people really excited that this is their first year voting and they want to be a part of the political process and exercise that right.
In many of the elections, something like 30% of Hispanic voters tend to side with conservatives. Does that tell you anything about our social atmosphere right now?
Well, you know, we are a nonpartisan group, so we want to ensure that people show up to the polls no matter what. You know, exercising their vote is so important, and it's important to show our elected officials that we are here, we want to be heard. Us as an organization, we ensure that we go and talk to communities, have neighborhood meetings, have the families come together and bring their neighbors together so that we can talk about the issues, because I think that's what's missing is the conversation of, you know, do you know what's going to be on the ballot? Do you know what policies we're going to be talking about and voting for? Do you know how it's going to affect our families and affect our future generations?
In other words, it doesn't matter who you vote for, how you vote, just civic engagement is what you want.
Yes, we want them to all participate, because I think by participating, we want to create a habit of voting, because once you create a habit of voting, you become more aware, you become more engaged, you become more, you know, your ears kind of light up when you hear certain issues that are being talked about. Having those conversations with our community really adapts a culture of not just voting, but being, you know, engaged civically and understanding that we don't have just a presidential election. We have other elections throughout the years that affects us locally, that can affect you know, how we get funding for education, how we protect our clean air, for example, as well.
Okay, Ana Karina, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Many of Arizona's public school teachers will get a bump in pay this upcoming school year after the state provided enough funding for a 9% raise. For some educators earning less than their community's median household income, finding affordable housing can be difficult. The Vail School District heard this from staff, and it devised a solution that will allow teachers to live in Vail as long as they don't mind downsizing. This is where the pioneers of Vail laid the foundations of a community that now hovers around 11,000. The original post office still stands, though it has seen better days and will go through a restoration along with the land around it.
This is an opportunity to actually reimagine what was the original town site of Vail.
This land, between the tracks, now belongs to the Vail School District. And it's where district leaders are pioneering a way to recruit and retain educators and staff with tiny homes.
We're 425 square miles as a school district. There are no apartments. So most of our staff, especially our younger staff, live in town in apartments and then have to travel to Vail.
A little over a year ago, the district pitched the idea to staff for a tiny house community, 24 homes on 14 acres of land. The first home went up in May. Sydney Scher and her fiance, Simon Stickworth, moved in at the beginning of July.
We are kind of the guinea pigs a little bit. We've made a whole lot of new friends. You know, people are like, you know, slowly driving and we're just like waving them in. I've gotten to work a lot with the school district, with our district staff, and that's been amazing. Everyone's been really all in on this project.
Now beginning her 5th year of teaching at Sonita Valley Elementary School, Scher says she, her fiance, and their 2 dogs transitioned smoothly into their 400 square feet of living space.
It's not inconvenient, actually. You know, I was just sitting eating dinner the other night saying, do you feel like you're squeezed in here at all? And, you know, my fiance is like, no, this is normal.
At 12 by 30 feet, the homes range between $60,000 and $70,000. The Vail School District doesn't own the homes. Instead, it gives employees the option to buy their own or rent a home purchased by an outside investor. The district does collect a monthly fee of $125 to lease space on its land, which also covers utilities and internet. It's trying to keep monthly housing expenses below $725.
We aren't looking to earn a profit on this project. We're looking to invest in our staff.
Scher and her fiance are in the process of buying a tiny home of their own. For now, they pay $550 a month to rent this one, not including the leasing fee. At their last apartment, the couple paid $825 a month before utilities. She estimates they will save about $300 a month.
You know, my rent was ridiculously high. It was just being thrown away each month. To be able to own something and have that as my space, to be investing in something that's good for my future, that's just an amazing feeling. On top of that, it allows me to save money. That's something we've never been able to do before. You know, we want to take trips, we want to retire.
That whole movement and concept of investing your income in time and in experience instead of things, we heard from our staff that that is a direction that they would like to go.
A common criticism characterizes the tiny homes as a cop-out to avoid paying educators enough to afford a home in Vail, where the average list price is $272,000 and the average teacher's salary is about $43,700.
We have people who literally will drive by as we're out here setting this up and want to come and check it out. So this is our house. It's about 400 square feet.
Associate Superintendent John Carruth understands the argument but doesn't entirely agree. He says the ability to raise pay largely depends on funding provided by the state.
There is certainly a fraction out there that are looking at it as a teacher salary issue and solely through that lens, and don't think that this is an okay thing to do because teachers should be able to afford a regular house. I could not agree with that more. We chose this route because it is something that we can control. Of the myriad of things that affect teacher quality and teacher compensation, this is something that we have control over. We can invest in this in a way that is significant for our staff.
The Vail School District isn't alone in its efforts to secure affordable housing for employees. In San Francisco, the city plans to develop a community with 100 apartments for educators. In Indianapolis, a nonprofit built and rehabbed more than a dozen homes in a neighborhood dubbed the Educators Village. And in Miami, the county school system is tinkering with an idea to build a school that includes a floor for apartments, effectively enabling teachers to live on campus.
This isn't a Vail issue. This is a national issue. And that also, frankly, is not just a teacher issue. It's a young professional issue in this world. You get out of college, you're carrying student loan debt, regardless of what your starting pay is, trying to find a house or an affordable apartment, that's really tough.
The project is designed to appeal to educators like Cher, who value community. Where a bystander sees vacant land, she sees something different.
I see a lot of potential. I know the plans are amazing. There's walking paths, potential for a community garden, for maybe a dog park, for common areas. I see us all going outside on Saturday night and having a potluck dinner with all the teachers and their families. You know, I see a community center for Vail. That positive attitude comes with me to school every day and goes to my children.
Economists at the University of Arizona say Tucson's housing market is one of the most affordable among metro areas in the western U.S., and it's similar across the state. Here to help us understand Arizona's housing market is Michael Bond, a senior lecturer in finance at the Eller College of Management.
Median home price in Tucson is about $200,000, and median household income is around $50,000. If you use some rules on what you can afford applied to that, most of those households should be able to afford a median home price. When you say households, that includes single, people living by themselves, and families. If you look at family income, that's probably up in the $70,000 range.
How does the state look, the picture in Arizona overall?
Well, if things are a little more up in the Phoenix area, but overall housing is pretty affordable here, especially if you compare it to like California. And I used to live in Ohio. My property taxes, same type of house, are about 60% less in Arizona than they would have been in the city that I lived in, Ohio. So I think this is a pretty affordable state. You're running into a problem here, as you are with a lot of places. We probably need about 1,200,000 new homes each year between new family formation, immigration, that type of stuff there, new houses being torn down. We're building about 900,000 nationwide. So we're short about 300,000 a year. The home builders are having a little trouble keeping up at this stage. In the Arizona, as a whole, I think we're building around 25 or 30,000 houses. We probably need 40 or 50. And that's one of the reasons why you're seeing home prices rise some. Over the last year in the Tucson area, they've risen about 7 or 8%, which is faster than people have been getting in their raises and that type of stuff there. But even with that, it's still, at this stage, pretty affordable.
What do you attribute that shortage to?
The industry got decimated. you were building 1,800,000 new homes in 2006. That dropped to 400,000 during the recession, and that's a flat-out depression for that industry. Many of the home builders went broke. A lot of these were smaller companies and so forth. Even a few of the large ones went broke. So they've had a little trouble ramping up here to try to catch up with this demand. That, of course, is really good for anybody who has already owned a home. Their prices are rising fairly rapidly. As we go through this, if this keeps up, it will start influencing affordability for first-time buyers or people who are moving up to a larger house there. In Arizona, at the peak, we were building 100,000 new houses a year. We probably needed 40 or 50. Wow. That dropped to 10,000. So that was a 90% reduction in the industry.
How does this factor into rentals? We also have people who can't afford to buy a home, but they need a place to live.
I think rents around here are pretty favorable, but you've run into a bit of the problem there too, that we probably need more rental units. One of the issues that you run into in Tucson is, while we have a lot of empty land around here, which of course you need to build houses and apartments on, only about 10 to 15% of it can be developed because of various rules and state trusts and national defense and parks and all that kind of stuff there. And that, of course, limits some of the ability to build houses and apartments here.
Affordable housing is a real indicator of a community's growth, its opportunity. When you look at this, is Arizona in a prime position, Tucson in a good position for moving forward?
Well, you've got the land issue, okay? And of course, as with any area, you get some of this, not in my backyard. I don't really want that development around me. We're not unique. Everybody's got those type of issues there. But there's a lot of empty space in Arizona. It may not be in Tucson proper or whatever, but there's, I think, plenty of room for this state to grow. It's relatively a low tax state, and as we've said, with housing prices not particularly expensive, I think the future of the state is pretty bright in terms of that.
Because you're a finance guy, this is your expertise. Again, if you could provide that general rule of thumb for a young working professional who's looking to buy the first home, what is that rule of how much your home should be versus how much you make?
Okay, sit down with a pencil and paper. Your mortgage, your property taxes, and your fire insurance should be no more than 30% of your monthly gross. And I'm a professor who thinks if you're spending more than that, you're buying a house you can't afford. And we just did that in this country, and we don't want to do that again.
And that's all for now. Thanks for joining us. To find out what we're working on throughout the week, visit us on social media and let us know what you think. We'll see you next week.